Yeah, had a really meaningful and impactful morning with our team this morning. Lots to learn and grow from still. I was really pleased with about 2.5 quarters of the game from start till about the 7-minute mark, uh, and and played probably as consistently as we played and collectively in all areas through that time, and still struggling to find the consistency and making sure that the teachable moments aren't lost on this team, no matter when they happen, and basically driving home the point of the way to work for consistency is to continue to be within the bounds of your assignment and within the framework of what you're asked to do. And most of the things that are happening now that would lead to mistakes are outside of that. And that leads to the inconsistency which the current team is struggling with, and I think maybe the current culture are that we're working to eradicate and move forward from. I thought the team played hard, and I thought they played hard right to the end, and I'm encouraged to see that and the resiliency. Looking forward to taking part and being with this team one more time. I like these kids a lot, and I appreciate the trust they put in me and how hard they worked since I've arrived till now, and would love to see them have success and continue to learn and grow. So yeah, with that, I'll take questions.
You were part of Oregon State, Oregon as a player, BYU, Utah as a head coach and assistant. How different were those two rivalries, and what sense do you have of this one?
They were quite different. The Civil War, the Oregon State was a fierce rivalry, but that rivalry would be civil in relation to BYU Utah. I don't have words to describe that. Rivalry doesn't become or even come close to doing that. What's justice there? And so I don't know what this will be like, but coming from that particular game, I'm not sure how I couldn't be prepared for anything else after being in that experience.
Bronco, just from the sense we've gotten from you for one season, it seems like if you lost 12 straight games to a team, it would grind on you like nothing else. How much will you invoke that passion in yourself this week, and how much will you try to light that fire under the, even though it's only one game and they were in the past and nobody likes to talk about the past, but it's kind of more than just one game, it seems like.
I think it is, especially to the community, the institution, the state, and the players, because they've been through them more than just one game. I haven't, but my loyalty and my commitment is to this team and to give them their very best chance to have success, regardless of who we play. And if you put it against the backdrop of that context, it means a lot to them, and I'd love to help them have success. And so I don't think I need to address anything other than how to help them play best this game. They already know the history. They're living the history, as is the community and the institution and the UVA fans. And so noted, and now I got to work like crazy to help our team.
You mentioned some of those rivalries you've been in. I'm curious, what have you found in terms of when you embrace that energy? Can the first quarter get sloppy? Do you have to rein in a team in your past experiences?
Yeah, it's more of the second. The more that the rivalry builds and the more things that happen throughout the week prior to the game that isn't the game, usually the more chippy and the more non-football like that it becomes, which isn't good for college football. It's not good for the kids. It's not good for the fans, and doesn't reflect class and sportsmanship, which is part of college football. And so I'm not for that. But I have seen it, and I have been part of it, and I haven't liked it on any occasion.
And on that same topic, when the game starts, sometimes those games can have a lot of drop passes, or it seems like people are pressing. Have you experienced that, and
Yeah.
how do you rein that side in?
Yeah, it's really just focusing on what matters, and really the only thing that matters when you play any significant game is the complete focus on your assignment and helping your team. And anything that goes beyond that in terms of personal vendettas or et cetera becomes selfish play, and usually works counterproductive to really what you want to do as a program and to help your teammates win, which is what the kids want most anyway. And so they're learning and they're growing and they're young, but I work much better under just the consistency and focused approach.
Obviously, you've played Coach Fuente before. The way it ended obviously caused a lot of headlines. Have you crossed paths with Coach Fuente since then? Maybe had any light moments like, hey, here we are facing each other in the same conference and big rivals?
So that was the first and only thing like that I've ever been through in terms of post-game and a fight as a player or a coach. So it was shocking and uncharacteristic. And I called Justin the next day after the game, and I apologized for any misconduct on our players' part, and we had a nice conversation about it. He was out Christmas shopping with his girls when I called him, and our next conversation is we ended up there was a Richmond sports banquet, and we ran into each other there, and we just kind of laughed and chuckled at the irony that was probably the last memory we had, and now we're at schools in the same state. I had some history with Justin before when he was at TCU and I was at BYU, so I wouldn't expect anything like that ever to happen again, probably in either one of our careers or with any teams that we coach. And what led to that one, I still am not certain, but don't ever want to see it again.
By this point last week, you had identified your starting quarterback. Any change in that situation?
No, we're going to start Matt, and I thought composure and experience and decision making for a lot of the game was right on point, and we were playing complementary football and really some of our best football through about 2.5 quarters, and it was fun to watch that all happening at the same time. And Matt, like some of the other players on our team, when circumstances changed or field position changed, or then we played from behind, he pressed a little bit and made a few mistakes, as did other players on our team. But I'd like to give him another chance and see what he can do with our team, and I think he'll do a nice job.
Obviously, Smoke's been a pretty good role here the second half of the season. He mentioned last week that it felt weird to him beginning of the year when you guys held him out of scrimmages, things like that, maybe led to the slow start. Looking back on it, would you have done that differently to get him going earlier this season?
Yeah, really hard to say. I think looking back and second guessing, certainly to do it again and not knowing for sure where the team was and how much work he would need and what effect that would have. Hard to say that I would have done it different after the fact, but man, hard to know at the beginning what that's going to look like. But he's a really good player, and he's durable, and he's unselfish, and he's a complete back. He can catch it and he can run with it, and we'll really miss him when he's gone. He's done a really nice job for our program, and not only as a leader this year, but production-wise. And I've just the way that he's migrated and embraced just our approach and our staff. It's sincere and genuine, and I really like him, and had a chance to tell his mom that in the hotel lobby before the last game.
Bronco, the players that have come in and talked to us all year have been kind of unanimous that the buy-in has been unanimous, and they feel like they're part of something. How much heading into the off season would ending the season on a high note maybe, I don't know, just maybe bring any stragglers along and
I think that is sincere. I mean, I would never open a team meeting to anyone from the outside, but man, this team really likes each other, and the staff and our team is really close and unified. And when we're at practice and when we're in meetings, there's really zero emphasis on the record. There's so much work going on, and optimism and hope, and I think rightly so, and I think it's well-founded. And the way the program is run, it's pretty much impossible to be a straggler. You know, you can't stay in that space because the expectation and the culture really won't allow it. And so I think these players have done a really nice job starting something that how long it will take, I don't have the answer to that, but we all feel like that we are making a difference, and the tangible results haven't shown. I would love for that to happen for them. I'd love for them to have more experiences and bus rides home and plane rides and locker rooms full of success. But I think I'm not going to say content, but I think they're encouraged just from what's seeing the organization and the coaching and the relationships that are being built looks like, and they like coming to work every day, as do I. And it's been a really interesting thing for me personally, having not ever been a head coach of a team that's lost more than it's won, and doesn't feel like that very much. It feels like I'm looking forward to working with them again, and maybe more so than ever in my career. And I'm not sure how this is, and I love winning. But these kids and this change effort have captivated me, and I'm looking forward to playing a significant role in the outcome that I think will come at some point.
Bronco, you faced Fuente before. What are some of the characteristics of his offense, and how has he kind of adapted it at Tech?
They're very good. So he's very skilled as a coach in a lot of different things. So spread formations and lots of motions, lots of eye control things that allow secondary players or perimeter players to look elsewhere, and the ball will go inside of them or around them. Quarterback runs, screens, really about every type of plays from inside to outside to short game to deep game are all part of what Virginia Tech does, and they do it pretty effectively and with tempo. And so all those things kind of create a frenzied type of experience, and so really demands composure and concentration and execution to combat that. And when you look at the output, especially maybe the last 5 games-ish, I think they found their rhythm a little bit more, their identity a little bit more, 30-something points a game, and kind of regardless of who they play. So I think not only his past success speaks to what kind of coach he is, but certainly what they're doing this year.
Bud Foster's been at Tech so long that he's become an institution there, kind of the way Frank Beamer was. As a defensive coach yourself, do you look at coordinators around the country at successful programs, and what are your thoughts on what Bud has done there and
Sure.
the defense he has?
Well, just staying any place for that long reflects good coaching, and a lot of times it's more than just good coaching. There usually has to be a personality there that's embraced and liked, because you can be a good coach and not liked, and then usually the first sign of a bad game or a bad year, then they're anxious to say goodbye to you. So he must be both to be able to stay that long, and that leads itself to a sense of consistency in their program, and probably why, I'm not sure how it worked to where he was retained, but probably the record and the type of defense played, but also the consistency, at least that part would remain, and then the offense could be re-energized by what their new head coach is doing.
Offensively, I don't know if it's by design, but they've become a team that relies on running the quarterback. They had some success and some failures running tailback early. What do you see there? And
Sure.
is it still a case where you have to key on stopping the run and then go from there, or do you change your approach because of what they've shown?
Well, the quarterback's the leading rusher, and so that reflects that they're most comfortable with him running, which just simply means and if from a schematic standpoint, it's more difficult to defend a running quarterback than handing the ball off because of the numbers advantage the offense has at that point. So I think if they thought they could run the ball consistently handing it off, they would do so because it's less hits on the quarterback. But clearly they've reached a different conclusion, and it's been really effective. So in order to defend running quarterbacks, most teams take more risk. But more risk usually means more points, especially if you can throw the ball capably downfield, which they can. And so it isn't a game that, in general, you can play with one tempo. There has to be multiple tempos, and you have to pick and choose when you might want to make a stop and when you might want to be more methodical in just controlling the type of yard you give up rather than the points you give up.
If I can follow, teams have the last few weeks sort of shifted their focus away from their run game to bracketing Ford and Hodges. What have you seen in terms of what that does and also what that exposes?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The more emphasis you put on wideouts, the more the quarterback and the run game will work, and the more that you put on the run game and the quarterback, the more the pass game will work, unless you're able to match up and you feel that your secondary per man is capable of matching up with theirs. And so if you're not equipped in any of those areas, then you have to be moving target and move the conflict player. And so there isn't the rhythm and which most offenses like to be rhythmic, but you have to move the conflict players and move the tempos to cover flaws and hopefully highlight strengths.
Even though you guys lost the other day, did you feel like Matt kind of gave the team a spark, an emotional spark, and what did you like about what he brought to the team?
I think the best word that I could use to describe what Matt brought was just presence. There was a spark, but there was this almost calm confidence, and with how he managed the team, again, especially early, the decision-making on early downs. So a lot of our success in that game, while we were having success, was we were managing early downs really well, which had us in third and manageable a lot, and we were converting third downs. They couldn't get us off the field, and they couldn't stay on the field. And so we really had complete control over the game for a long time against a team that thrives on holding onto the ball and not letting the opponent on the field, and we had reversed the script. And Matt allowed us to do that, especially with his decision-making on early downs and then being poised and putting the ball where it needed to be on manageable just to keep the chains moving. And I think there was a sense of confidence and again, just presence. It was a calming factor to our team.
I know you're limited in what you can say medically, but if I might ask you about a player from our area, Warren Kraft, I guess, has been out for about 8 or 9 weeks. You concerned about him long-term, or are you just being real cautious?
Yeah, I would say both. Really, I can't speak much other than when Warren is cleared through protocol, which he wants to do, and I want to have him do, and I'd love to have him back. But really, the longer protocol takes, usually there's gives more rise to concern, and that's not the nature of injury isn't one that you take risks with. And so we just are hopeful and biding our time and encouraging and want his health first and foremost and his well-being. And if he plays again and when he plays again, that'll be a great thing for all of us. But it's taking certainly a long time, but needed, and the safety measures are in place to ensure that, and it mitigates any internal pressure he feels to join us too soon, and it adds to great judgment, which I really would like him to be healthy and have a great future with or without football.
After the game on Saturday, I think you used the term, there's some deep habits here that you have to break, and particularly I think toward finishing games and how it kind of gets to that spot in the third or fourth quarter where something bad happens. Has that been a harder challenge than you expected going in, knowing that the recent history of this program?
Yeah. The answer is yes to that, and I noticed it in our very first game, and there's a script, and just to make it clear, I don't, and I might have used the term accidentally, but I really don't use the term break habits, replacing is what we believe in, and the research is pretty clear on that. That you can't ever make a habit go away, but you can replace it with a new one, and that can then become stronger than the old. It does take time, and it does take reinforcement for that to happen. But there is a script that has played, that I see play out, and as the critical moments in the game manifest, those are the times where, possibly because of recent history, the team, they strain, and they really want the success. But most of the time so far, at least in my short time here, that's leading to increased mistakes rather than cleaner play. And so what we're focusing on and what we're targeting now is just when those moments arise, is to take all of that, those other thoughts or whatever the history is, and channel it only into that one play. And that's going to give us a much better chance of having the kind of outcome that we want. But yeah, a lot of factors pulling at these kids. And that's stronger than what I anticipated, but will be that much more invigorating. And it is invigorating to be battling against it every day. And that's one of the reasons I came, is to do something difficult, and this is. But I like that challenge, and they do as well. And I think they love being believed in, because I think they're capable, and I would love to help them. And so I'm going to continue to help celebrate the simple and small successes along the way, until there are those more tangible ones that that I'm judged by, and our team is, which is normal. But I'm gonna guard the simple things along the way that I see progress in. For instance, when we got down by 14, we put a really masterful drive together, driving the entire field to close it back to 7, and that to me was a really nice drive, and showed a lot of resiliency and composure after a pretty rough stretch in there that we could then. And those are moments of capability that I love to highlight and draw from. I need to help our team have more of those and become trained in a way that the circumstance and the context of the game doesn't influence our performance quite as much. And right now it is.
Bronco, back here. You take this job, you get here, you start doing like the VAF socials and things like that. How long did it take until you started to really get a sense of how big this game, this rivalry is among the fans?
I think I was asked, the first social that I went to, the first person introduced themselves and said, welcome to UVA Beat Tech. I mean, that was just, okay. And so I appreciated the welcome, but it was like that. So yeah, I understand. I think I understand, again, probably more so than what anyone could imagine from the context I just came from, and I want our team to have success.
There was a lot to talk about after the game Saturday. I don't think we ever asked you about the first touchdown when Daniel Ham took the direct snap and ran in. I know there are only so many carries to go around. Have you gotten a sense of Daniel's ability as a running back through this fall, or is that something that'll kind of wait until the spring to see?
I would say it's waiting more till the spring. But what I will say is that the role that he's earned in punt return, he's taken that role and magnified it to the point where, much like Joe Reed on kickoffs, when we're going to punt, if you watch the team, they'll start moving up to the sideline to watch. And that's the greatest compliment he could give. We know he'll catch it. We know he's fearless, and we know he's capable with the ball. And that's really what earned him a chance to be used down on the goal line. And so, again, it's taken a while to really identify roles and depth and who can do what. And it's been an ever-changing target with a little bit of history, as for any team. But Daniel's one that his role and his stock has risen. And continues to do so all the way going into this last game, and he's doing a really nice job.
I'm not sure we asked you the other day about the last kickoff, I guess, after your touchdown.
Yeah.
Dylan took that kickoff. Why the change there? And just talk about your
Sure.
kicking situation in general?
Yeah, our kicking situation's been very difficult and very inconsistent. And again, I removed a player in the offseason who was our leading candidate to be our field goal kicker, as well as a long snapper. And so we've been able to, knock on wood, make it through the year with our snaps being right on point, our punting game being exceptional, but our field goal kicking has been a struggle in terms of consistency. And we've had a number of different solutions, a practice format that has put as many repetitions in place as we possibly can, and we've accelerated the preparation, but it hasn't led to outcome in terms of the kickoff. So there was some wind, and it was pretty unpredictable. But at that moment and that time of the game, it was worse coming from my right to left. And Dylan has a stronger leg for kickoff, and I chose, rather than to squib it and keep it low, I chose to put Dylan in, and believing he could kick it a long ways, keep it in bounds. The hang time with the wind might keep it up, and we could still cover it effectively. And it worked just opposite. The wind pushed it down, knuckleballed it, and it went out on the 35. We ended up making a stop. But one of the biggest plays in the game was their punter, punting the ball and pinning us down inside the 3-yard line after the defense had made another stop. And so, and most likely my choice on the kickoff influenced that. But it was my call. Coach Papinga does our special teams, and he asked me what I wanted to do. And rather than squib it, I chose to put the different kicker in and hang it, and it didn't work.
What about going forward with your kickers?
Yeah, there won't be much change. Sam is the one that we trust most with, and he's earned that trust in practice. And man, he's really consistent with the team around him and causing all kinds of grief to him. He still has been putting it through the uprights. That hasn't yet translated as consistently as we want. And I wish I had another answer other than time, but that's the best answer I can give.
Take our last question from Andrew.
I think next week, or a couple weeks from now, when all ACC teams are revealed, you might have a couple of first teamers with Quinn and Mike. Maybe Smoke gets on a team. This isn't the first time this has happened with Virginia. They've had kind of individual recognition, but the team part, success part of it hasn't been with it. Is that proof that there's talent here, and what's the next step in turn those individuals into, team success?
Yeah, I think, and as a coach, my philosophy is a little bit different, and so I'll explain that first. My job is to take the current resources here and design schemes and strategies and motivate them and bring them together to give them their best chance for success. And the players' capability level, I just kind of take them from where they lift from where I stand, meaning they take them from whatever levels and move from there. I have a lot better idea now, going into our last ACC game, of what the league looks like, what the talent base looks like, what the depth looks like, what the size looks like, what the maturity of the programs look like, and so we have work to do on a number of fronts. What we get to talk about each week is kind of the football component, the execution. Every bit, if not more, is our efforts to what I call talent acquisition. That means going out and bringing in players that will staff our roster. Our roster is not deep. The plan is not in place to have a well thought out, what I call succession planning, meaning here goes the left tackle, or who's next, and then where's the one being developed, and who's on the board as the one coming up, where's the heir apparent. Our roster is there's holes everywhere. And that's a starting place. That's not a reason to become discouraged, but that is what it is. And so sometimes a player or two on a team are not only exceptional in their own right by their abilities, but they're doing more and having more opportunities because of sometimes the complementary cast isn't, or maybe quite necessary to what maybe the comparisons in the league has. And so in this case, the number of plays that Quinn and Micah make is phenomenal. They're both excellent football players. They're very well prepared every week. They're so durable and they're so tough, and they're great leaders. But possibly along this way in their careers, they've been asked to do more because they've had to do more. And I actually prefer a team that has more balance, where the production is coming not equally, but more equal than what I've seen offensively and defensively. Those reflect to me the best programs, and at some point that'll be what this looks like.